here today at Seton Hall University on the occasion of the National Conference of Catholic Bishops and their spring meeting, 1989. Our topic today is Catholic marriages and annulments, and we're pleased to have as our guest Edmund Cardinal Sciacca, Archbishop of Detroit, and my name is Jim Connors. Welcome to our show. Cardinal, I'm so delighted to have you here and to talk about a topic that is of, I'm sure, of great interest to our entire audience, most of whom are certainly involved in Catholic marriages.
Well, I'm happy to be with you, and I'm very impressed that a parish is producing these programs. I think it's a great example for others.
Coming from you, that's very great praise. I know you just mentioned to me that you're the chairman of the board of the Catholic Television Network of America.
Yeah, the Catholic Telecommunications Network of America, CTNA, which was established by the bishops, and we provide many services for the various dioceses through teleconferences and through programming that they can receive by satellite and rebroadcast tape and so forth. So I'm very interested but I'm very impressed that one parish can do as much as you're doing.
Well, we're reaching beyond our parish, and I hope this audience will be North Jersey and anywhere else that picks up our show.
Right.
And we can learn from you. On the topic today of Catholic marriages, I think we should begin at the beginning, which is preparation for marriage. And I know the Church is, in recent years, has taken a great many steps in helping couples prepare for marriage. Would you comment on some of these?
Well, I think that, preparation is obviously very, very important. And I think, well, it always has been, but it's even more important, I think, today in the society in which we're living, in which divorce is so widespread, so easily obtainable. And when you live in a society where that is the case, as Catholics, we don't live in a vacuum, and we're bound to be affected by the social climate in which we live. So I think it's even more important today. But added to that is the fact that marriages today are, I think, subject to many more stresses than was the case in the past, many more difficulties than in the past. 60, 70 years ago, there were other types of problems, but not the same stresses that people have today. So preparation is extremely important. We've always emphasized that. I've been a priest 35 years, and all through my years as a priest that's been the case, but I think when I was a young priest, so much of the preparation was done mainly by the parish priest himself. Today, I think that we're giving better preparation. The priests must still be involved, but through such things as pre-cana, where other, and then there is the couple-to-couple movement in which married couples within a parish who are competent will help to prepare engaged couples. Also, there are these engaged encounter weekends and so on, all of which I think are excellent means of helping couples to prepare.
So it's more of an educational program reaching out to people who are committing themselves to marriage.
Yes, but there are also some other tools that are used in Detroit, in the province of Detroit, which is the same as the state of Michigan. There are 7 dioceses, and many of our priests, I'd say almost all of them, use what we call a pre-marriage inventory. It's a questionnaire that the prospective bride and groom are each asked to fill out. It's a yes, no, and so forth. Check it off, and then they send that in to a professional who evaluates it, and then sends a report back to the priest. And it helps to surface any potential. It's only a tool, and no tool is perfect, but it does help to surface what may be potential problems. It may bring out the fact that the man and the woman really aren't communicating as well as they think they are. Or it might bring out that they have very divergent views on certain aspects of marriage. So it gives the priest and the people helping them a chance to face that situation. It's even happened at times that when they begin to realize this, that they break off the engagement.
Yeah. Better to do it then than
later.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
That doesn't happen often, but it's a tool that helps them in the preparation.
and helps them better understand each other,
Yes,
which is
yes,
gives them a better chance of success. Is there generally a waiting period or a required advance notice before marriage where the couples would participate?
Well, there's
in
no, by the general laws of the church, there's no required time to wait. There are rules about age and so forth. But in many dioceses today, many dioceses in our country have adopted some policies in that regard. And again, in my own province in Michigan, the province of Detroit, some years ago, the bishops of the province adopted some policies, one of which was that the married couple ordinarily must inform the parish priest 6 months in advance.
I think that's the same in our parish.
Now, sometimes it's referred to as a waiting period, and I don't like to use that term because we don't mean it as waiting, that you inform them and then wait 6 months. The reason we provide the 6 months is precisely for the purpose of preparation, so that they have time to prepare, and also that they don't rush into something without enough reflection and thought. And while this isn't perhaps in many instances such a critical point today, some years ago, if there was a pregnancy, there would be a temptation to rush into marriage without adequate preparation and so on. So I think it's like any rule, it's the general policy. There can be some legitimate exceptions to it, but generally we observe that quite well in Michigan, and certainly in the Archdiocese of Detroit.
And it works. I think
it's helpful.
I think, I don't know if statistics are available since the church has been improving its programs of pre-Cana and pre-marriage education and such. Have we been successful? Do we see that the resulting marriages are more successful than they would have been without such efforts?
Well, that's always hard to measure, but certainly we hope that they are, and that they will have more stability and be more successful and happy.
Speaking as a father, I know that the feedback from my own children has been excellent on what they've learned from pre-marriage.
Married children.
Married children, yes.
Okay.
Yes, right. I know also, in addition to pre-marriage help, the church is reaching out also to helping couples in strengthening their marriages and preserving their marriages. Is there anything there that you might comment on?
Well, there are a number of marriage enrichment programs, various types. The marriage encounter weekends are very popular. There are retreats for married couples. In various parishes, there are various kinds of programs. Again, in some parishes, there will be couples who have had preparation and can help people in marriages who are having difficulties. Sometimes a priest can do that. Sometimes they may need more professional counseling, but many times another married couple can be a great help to them. And so there are many, many things that we're doing and trying to help strengthen marriages and help people to grow in their love and in the stability of their married life.
I think I read somewhere that there's about 3 million couples that have gone through marriage encounters. That's a remarkable statistic.
Yes. I don't know the statistics, but certainly it must be a very large number.
Do you see the enthusiasm waning on that, or is it continuing to be a very popular procedure?
Well, I can't speak for the country. In my own archdiocese, in our family life office, I have a full-time priest as well as other people working. But much of his work, a great deal of his work, is in the marriage encounter weekends, and I think they must have them every weekend.
Marvelous. And the troubled marriages are often helped by the church. I know they have counseling services available in many dioceses specifically to help. If a person or couple wants help, where do they go? How should they start? Go to their parish priest?
Well, many do. We also have Catholic social service offices in most dioceses. We do in Detroit, and a great deal of their work is involved with the marriage counseling. As I mentioned before, in some of our parishes, we have couples who have been trained to help others, and they can be referred to them. So there is help available on the parish level and the diocesan level.
So a couple who think they should go for some advice should contact perhaps their chancery office or through the local parish.
Or the local parish, the local priest. If there is a Catholic social service office in the area, most of them provide marriage counseling.
Right. It's great to know that the church is there. Probably not enough people do know that this help is available.
Yeah, or unfortunately sometimes they don't seek it, or
Probably, that's the problem. A topic related to our discussion of Catholic marriages is one that gets a lot of attention. That's annulments in the Catholic
Yes.
Church. You know, this is very much a timely topic. Can you elaborate on that?
well, I think it's a very important subject. It's, as you know, is our belief as Catholics that a valid marriage is for life,
Right.
permanent. And it's very important that we continue to educate people about that, to promote that, to uphold that. It's very important. At the same time, as I mentioned earlier, we live in a society in our country in which divorce is so widespread, so easily obtainable. In many cases, there's the no-fault divorce laws. And as a result, there are a large number of Catholics who unfortunately have become involved in a divorce. The marriage is broken up. Now, if it is a valid marriage, then we can help the people. We have, for example, organizations for divorced and separated Catholics. There are support groups to help them work through their problems and difficulties, and who serve a very useful purpose. However, under church law, the church law is very clear that if a man or woman, a husband or wife, believes that his or her marriage is invalid for a particular reason, then that person does have a right to present that to the church for adjudication. And accordingly, each bishop has an obligation and a responsibility to have a tribunal, it's a court, a marriage court,
understand.
where these cases can be presented, and the people have a right to a decision. Now, a marriage, I mentioned, if a marriage is valid, it's for keeps, it's for life. But there are reasons for which a marriage could be invalid. Now, of course, if Catholics are bound to be married before a priest and two witnesses, if they go to a magistrate or something, it's invalid.
That's the easy case, right?
Yeah, those are the easy ones. But I'm talking now about, say, two Catholics who have been married in the church by a priest and so on. Well, there are a number of things that could invalidate, that could affect the consent, so that the consent would be invalid. It would be somehow vitiated. I can't go into all of the possibilities, but to give you an example, if for example, one of the parties, although let us say either the man or the woman, let us say the woman, although she would not express this, but has totally excluded the possibility of having children. In her own mind, she's made up her mind before the marriage that I'm not having any children under any circumstances. Well, that, and the husband doesn't know this until after they're married, wants to have children, finds out that she has excluded that from her consent. Well, that invalidates the consent. That's not true marital consent.
I see.
If that can be established, then the tribunal can render a decision that that marriage was invalid. So a declaration then is issued, a declaration of nullity. But it's not a divorce, it's a declaration that this marriage from the very beginning was null and void because consent wasn't there.
That's a fine and distinct point to be understood by everyone, that there's a real difference between an annulment and a divorce. Some people equate them.
Yeah, the church does not, we don't accept or believe in divorce in that civil divorce sense. Because that a divorce simply is the law, the civil law, saying a marriage no longer exists. In the church, the only thing we can do is to make a judgment whether or not all the conditions were present for a valid marriage. If we reach the decision that there was an essential element missing or something that vitiated the marital consent, then we make that declaration and what we're saying is there was no marriage from the beginning.
Right.
I gave you one example, but there are other examples that can affect consent. As I said again, in our society, as much as you try to teach and repeat that marriage is permanent, it's forever, we do run into situations where, in spite of all that, one of the parties, in this case, let us say the man, says, yes, I intend this, I understand it's forever, for keeps, for life. But in the back of his mind, he knows, well, if this doesn't work out, I can get a divorce. And really, that is his intention. When he gets married, his intention is if this isn't right, I'll get a divorce. Now, if it can be established that really was his intention, of course, then that's vitiating the marriage consent too, because it has to be given freely and for life.
You have to mean those words.
You have to mean what you say. Right. And I just mentioned the word freely. Again, if someone is forced into marriage or goes into marriage because of extreme pressure, out of fear or whatever, again, that could vitiate the consent.
That may happen sometimes in cases of pregnancy.
Yes, it can. It can, because in those circumstances there can be tremendous pressure. As a parish priest, I've experienced that myself with couples, and where when I've pointed it out to them and helped them to understand this, have decided to postpone the marriage because one or the other party really didn't want to get married.
Yes, I've seen cases like that too, and I think that's an optimistic change to see in our culture, that rather than forced marriages or shotgun marriages, that we see people see the dangers in that.
Yes. But to get back to the tribunals, I think that it is very, very important for us to have good tribunals, to have them well-staffed, and to, because every Catholic, as I said, under church law has a right, if he or she thinks that they have a reason why the marriage was invalid, they have a right to present that, and they have a right to a decision. And we must, and the bishop on the other hand has a responsibility to see that the case is adjudicated in a reasonable time. I think that's very, very important, because the greatest loss to the church in the United States is divorce and remarriage outside the church. Sometimes, you'll hear people say, well, a lot of people don't agree with this or that teaching of the church and they're leaving, but that's not the case. They don't leave for that reason. The greatest loss to the church is the fact of a divorce and a remarriage outside the church, when very often both parties will eventually stop living the faith, their children will not be raised Catholics, and it affects generations after that. So I'm not in any way saying that every Catholic who gets divorced that we can grant a decree of nullity. What I'm saying, though, is that in our country and in our culture, there are certainly very legitimate instances where the marriage consent is vitiated. And so we have to be able to respond and give people a decision.
Every Catholic who's divorced perhaps should consider whether his or her case is open to annulment.
Yes, and there has to be, understand, an objective reason. It can't be just, well, because I feel, or I don't, I have a feeling that it wasn't valid. There has to be a reason. I've given you a few examples. But whether they, even if they're not sure if they have a reason, they can come and ask and present it. Mm-hmm. In my own case in Detroit, many people will start with the parish priest. But we also make it known that they can come directly to our tribunal We have a staff there, and we have a number of priests there who will interview them, will listen to them, and will help them get started.
Right. And even if they're not eligible for an annulment,
Yes.
by talking to the priest, they're going to get some pretty good advice.
That's right. There is a chance for some pastoral work and counseling. And I will tell you that, that there are, we handle a great many cases in Detroit, and there are some that after the preliminary discussion with the people, it's very clear that there aren't any grounds for nullity, and we have to inform them. But there are many other cases in which there are grounds, in which we can pursue it and can give them a judgment.
I think you made a point a second ago about the time limit. And I was talking to, I think, one of your auxiliaries last night who mentioned that the time limit in Detroit, because of the efficiency you've built into the tribunal, is now down to like 5 to 7 months after a case is presented to the tribunal.
Well, what we call a formal case is what the type we've been speaking about, which
Right.
are more difficult. I would say the average time is about 9 months.
9 months.
From the time that they present it until the time of the judgment. And that's assuming that everyone cooperates.
Yes.
You know, sometimes perhaps the wife might present the case and the husband doesn't cooperate, or they may cooperate, but other witnesses that we need don't cooperate. And I might mention that after our tribunal renders a decision, if it's a favorable decision, then it automatically has to be referred to another tribunal, which we call the Tribunal of Second Instance,
Oh,
where that is reviewed. And then the judges there have to concur with that. So we need 2 concurring judgments before they would be permitted to remarry. But that whole process, I would say, on the average, we do in about 9 months.
another concern for people who are interested in this might be the cost or fees. I know there are some, but could you comment on what the average of fees might be?
In many, I would guess probably in almost all dioceses there is a fee because the work that's involved in that, you need secretaries and typists, and a formal case, can end up to be that thick. So there are costs involved. Now, in my own archdiocese, I've done something rather unique, and that is that we've eliminated all charges for these cases. We
Wow.
don't charge anything. We don't charge
Marvelous.
anybody a penny. And the way we support the tribunal, we have an annual appeal every year to support the works of the archdiocese, our central offices, the seminary, our telecommunications efforts. The tribunal is supported through that. So we simply put that as a budget item, and the people every year know what they're contributing to. So we don't charge any fees of anyone.
That's a great note to end our show on,
Yes.
Your Eminence. I thank you so much.
Let me add, I think that's a little unique, but well, it's because these costs have to be met. But this is the way we do it in Detroit, and I'm very pleased that we do it that way.
Well, I'm sure you're providing a service to Catholics who need help.
Yes.
And it's being effective, and will, as you made a point before, will pay off in generations to come.
Oh, it does. It does.
I thank you for being with us today. I ask our audience to consider what you've heard from our guest Cardinal Shaka from Detroit. And if you've got a question, or you know someone who does, about preparation for marriage, or about problems with marriage, or about annulments, the place to start is probably your parish priest. I thank you, and thank you for being with us. And thank you, Your Eminence.
I'm glad to be with you.
Great.